the disaster risk is not so big. Next, please. Next. Next, please. We have long history with tsunami. About 400 years ago, a very big tsunami attacked our area. And 800 years ago, from that tsunami, we had evidence that there was also a huge tsunami. Next, please. And since we have experienced large tsunami, the people built a large seawall, which is a Guinness record. Next one, please. And memorials indicating how high the tsunami attacked this area, or stone statue indicate up to here that the tsunami came. Next, please. When we had a great Kanto earthquake in 1921, it was magnitude 7.9 in Tokyo metropolitan area, and more than 100,000 people died. The main cause of the death was fire. Next, please. In Sendai, we had an earthquake that destroyed many buildings. So the buildings should be earthquake-proof. Next slide. And we had lessons that we have to know the risks that making the hazard map and indication that this was a tsunami inundated area and early warning system. Next, please. And every September 1st, when the Tokyo metropolitan area had an earthquake, it's a National Disaster Drill Day. And the area which is tsunami, the children are told to evacuate by themselves, sometimes without carrying their families. Next, please. Since this kind of effort made the direct death and missing after 1960s, Japan has a very peaceful time without a big disaster. Before that, we lost thousands of people by typhoon. And in 1995, we had an earthquake in Kobe. And in 2011, we had a great East Japan earthquake. Next, please. And I want to tell you about the medical preparedness before the disaster. Next, please. The role of health professionals is to increase the capacities and decrease the hazard and the vulnerability. Next, please. In 1995, Great Hanshin-Awaji earthquake killed more than 6,000 people. Main cause of the death was asphyxia because of the collapse of the building. Next, please. At that time, no disaster-specific hospital was available. So we established a disaster-based hospitals, and we established a DMAT, who acts very rapidly. And there was no wide area transportation. The staging care unit and the system was established. And there was no disaster medical information system. Nationwide emergency medical information system was established. And there was no disaster medical coordinator. We established it. And we established the Japanese Association for Disaster Medicine 2 years after this earthquake. Next, please. And disaster-based hospital provides intensive care unit and responds to the patient's transportation and provides demand and provide medical resources to the affected local hospitals. There are more than 600 disaster-based hospitals throughout the nation, and there is one national center. Next, please. The locations of the DBH in eastern Japan is illustrated here. You can see the epicenter of the Great East Japan earthquake. And I cannot show, but the nuclear power plant is in the area just in the lower third of the enlarged picture. Next, please. The DMAT provides medical care to the affected people before the local healthcare providers recovers. So the DMAT's activity starts from within 24 hours and up to 72 hours. They have the resource for 3 days. And DMAT consists of a medical doctor, a nurse, and a pharmacist, and a logistician with people. Next, please. This picture is a training situation of DMAT. Next, please. And the DMAT and the disaster-based hospital is controlled under the Ministry of Health and Labor and Welfare. And the Emergency Medical Information System coordinates the activity of DMAT. Next, please. These are the aircrafts used for the wide area transportation run by the Self-Defense Force. But only 4 or 8 patients can be carried by these big aircrafts. Next, please. And this is a picture of the Emergency Medical Information System. Next one. And disaster medical coordinator is a very new idea, first established in Kyoto in 1997. But 4 out of 47 prefectures followed to assign before the Great East Japan earthquake. The Miyagi prefecture, where the center is in Miyagi, and assigned 6 coordinators in just 2010. But Suerte and Fukushima prefecture did not have a coordinator. Next, please. Next one. On March 11, 2011, magnitude 9.0 earthquake hit the East Japan. Luckily, it was Friday afternoon, and our outpatients were on their way home, and the medical staff were on the job. The weather was cold but getting warmer. Next, please. Whole Japan was shaped. Next, please. And I had a movie showing that how tsunami attacked the area that unfortunately I cannot recreate this video, but the main cause of the death was mostly drowning. Next, please. Next, please. The Tohoku University was located far from the seashore and had a very small number of patients visiting to our hospital within a week. But the smaller Ishinomaki Red Cross Hospital had to accept more than 1,000 patients a day on March 2 days after the earthquake. Even though they had a very small number of doctors, small number of nurses, but the population was aged. So there are more than 1,000 green patients. Next, please. The Japanese DMAT headquarters and DMAT went to the local headquarters of the local government and assisted the health sector. Next, please. The DMAT gathered more than 1,800 members of the DMATs gathered right on the day to the March 12, 22 to the Tohoku area and helped many patients. Not only DMAT, other medical assistant team from National University Hospitals, Japan Red Cross Hospitals, Japan Medical Association also came into the affected area. Next, please. So the DMAT helped the local hospital and helped the people in the evacuation center and helped the disaster-based hospital and the SCU. Next, please. One very important activity of DMAT is wide area transportation. There were 78 patients who need hemodialysis in Kesennuma City. And no hospital can provide hemodialysis at that time, so they sent the patients to our university hospital, and we did transient hemodialysis for this 78 patients in one day, and sent to the nearby airport, Matsushima, and sent them by airway to Sapporo for the continuous hemodialysis. Next, please. But we have to know that the medical needs are changing. After Hanshin-Awaji earthquake, we built the building very strong and made a disaster risk reduction. So the people who were injured by the collapsed buildings was markedly reduced. And death and loss were almost by the tsunami. So the medical assistant team didn't have ability to save these dead or lost patients, and most of the injury was very mild. Next, please. There are, however, many unmet medical needs. The people with chronic illness, like home oxygen treatment, they lack hemodialysis, and they lost the daily drugs for hypertension, diabetes, for insulin, and crowded shelter without enough heat, food and water made a problem in health in the people. And there was quarrel and harassment. This kind of situation made a psychological depression, alcoholism, and there might be a possibility of deep pain thrombosis in the people who was waiting the gas supply in a car. And the local hospital suffered from the lack of substitutes of medical staff. Next, please. And another problem is disaster-related death. There are more than 3,000 people died after 1 week or 1 month, or even after the 1 year after the onset of the disaster. The Fukushima prefecture suffered from the nuclear power plant problem. Next, please. And next, please. I want to show you that the hospitals are facing the risks by the disaster. Many hospitals were damaged, totally devastated by the tsunami, and lost a lot of number of patients and medical staffs. Next, please. Next, please. And another problem is the flooding of separate medical teams and lack of coordination. Many teams visited the affected area, and there was also a number of helps. But there was no coordination, so that makes another chaos in the affected area. Next, please. So the prefectures assigning the disaster medical coordinator was rapidly increased after the Great Eastern earthquake. Next, please. Next, please. So the Tohoku University established our International Research Institute of Disaster Science, and turning misfortune into blessing, meaning hope. Next, please. We have many multidisciplinary divisions, and this is a unique institute that includes disaster medical science. Next, please. We have professors of disaster psychiatry, infectious disease, OBG, medical informatics, and oral science, chemicals, and radiation. Next, please. But we are expecting another threat in the near future. If we have great earthquake, which probability 90% in 30 years, the number of the people at risk is more than 1 million. Next, please. Another threat is the Tokyo metropolitan area. After the last earthquake, almost it passed 100 years. So the probability is 70% within 4 years. Next, please. So the hazard map of Japan is illustrated like this. We have 17 nuclear power plants nationwide, in which no active reactor is running. Next, please. Next, please. Kyoto Framework for Action was endorsed by the 168 countries in 2005 in Kobe, and will be revised in next year in Sendai. Next, please. Only 3 words and 1 paragraph of health in more than 10,000 words of global framework for action is written here. So that's a safe hospital problem. But we have to be aware that who responds to the health risks? The voice of the health professional in risk reduction is very weak. Next, please. And we have to be aware that due to the paradigm shift, like climate change, or rapid urbanization, poverty, lack of resource, loss of biodiversity, or all kinds of hazards, including biohazards, we are facing the change of risks. Building strong, we can decrease the number of injuries and death. But we are facing the problem of the quality of life, especially for the health. So the better access to the health facilities, safe hospitals, safe school, mental and physical health, and communication, and to develop the funding and development to make the resilient community is very important. Next, please. So I organized the International Symposium on Disaster Medical and Public Health Management in Washington, D.C. last May, making the framework for the frameworks and policies, planning and vulnerable populations, psychosocial and behavioral, and infrastructure, resources, and education. And we published a position paper at Prevention Web, an editorial in disaster medicine and public health preparedness, and we are now publishing the proceedings in the same journal online. Next, please. So our proposal to the HFA2 is the risk reduction people have to know the health sector's voice to centralize the health. Next, please. So this is my last slide. After Typhoon Yolanda, we visited Leyte Island and visited many hospitals damaged by the Yolanda, and visited the UPM SHS in Palo, and they are reconstructing and relocating, and what the people strive, and that has many health risk problems. So Team Dr. Globan, and let's reduce the risk together. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very, very much, Dr. Igawa. It's a really very, very informative, fantastic presentation. We'll now go into an open forum. So please come and approach the mic, stating your name and your institutional affiliation. Can you raise your hands if you have an idea who has questions? Wala pa? O sige. I'll start the ball rolling, Dr. Igawa. You ended with a slide on Typhoon Haiyan and Tacloban. And we're very thankful that you're one of the kind neighbors who visited us at the time of need. But maybe, can you give us an idea of what your impressions were about what you saw in Tacloban, how people, what the risks were that struck you, and in a very sort of um, uh, honest, but in a way that is sort of, you need to be critical. What did you see in terms of the management of the relief and rehabilitation effort? What are your impressions and what were the challenges?
Thank you very much. I have no time to describe all the research I did in the urban area, but mainly I visited the hospitals, which was identified by the remote sensing and mapping. And we found that the storm surge devastated the hospitals, and also the strong wind devastated the roofs of the hospitals, and the heavy rain made the function of the hospitals very bad. But it may be because of the climate change, but maybe because of the structural or non-structural problem of the hospitals. The Safe Hospitals campaign, I know that the Safe Hospital campaign was carried in the Philippines from 2008. And I visited the DOH and shared the information with them. And my feeling about the people's health is still you don't have the clear water and hygiene. So the people's health require a clear water system and a sewage system. And I saw that many people who are cooking by the burning wrecks or debris to cook. And especially I'm worried about the children's health. And in Philippines, I heard that there is no lunch provided in the school. So that may be a program for the children's health, for other health program maybe. But I also found that mass vaccination was performed by the international and domestic collaboration, and that coordination of the medical assistance was very nicely performed in Philippines. And many health assistant teams visited. I met many assistant teams in the global area, so that Philippines is a very acceptable country. So improving your health risks is the problem of yourself, and you have to think about government and people also discuss what kind of society do you want.
Thank you very much, Dr. Igawa. You've touched on several key issues, including how safe and how structurally sound there are hospitals, which are, in a sense, the first and last line of defense. The basic problem of water supply, etc., etc. So, are there any questions from the floor? Please introduce yourself.
Good morning, Doctor. I am Lisa Lim from Smart Communications. You mentioned one of the components that you have in place is an emergency medical information system. Would you like to tell us more about it? What it contains? Is it based on prefect, or is it a nationwide information system?
If I get your question correctly, you mentioned that emergency medical information system.
Yes, Doctor.
Yes, Doctor.
The question is coming from calling from the telecommunication sector here.
Yes, and these are the system based on the web system, and the health professional, especially the DMAT and the emergency medicine, can log in to see the information about the hospitals within the affected area and what's going on in the nationwide or international health assistance. Mostly this system is for the domestic use. And this provides the information about how many doctors and how many patients are there in the hospital, and the lifeline information, and how many patients can be accepted in that hospital. That kind of system is uploaded in a daily basis.
So, Dr. Igawa, was it, so there are many information systems, but in terms of disaster communications, for example, was it over the web?
Yes.
The web networks were not affected by the disaster in Sendai.
Right. At the time of the Great Japan earthquake, the nuclear accidents or radiological information about how much radioactivity can be detected in that area, or what kind of notice is provided by the government can be seen on the website.
Were you, for example, in the Philippines, we have a lot of cell phone use. Japan is one of the leaders in that. How were cell phones, for example, used during the disaster in
Yes, that was a problem. The communication problem also occurred in the great large-scale disaster. Many people want to connect to each other, and they are using cell phones, and so the disturbance of the verbal communication was remarkable. However, you can make the short message, and the backbone of the internet was not damaged by the disaster. So the government is now trying to use the capacity of the communication from now on.
Thank you very much. As we know, information systems have different sort of subsystems. There's a hazard mapping, there's an information system, there's disaster communications, there's the backbone, there's communication between first responders. So I think we don't have the time to, but are there any other questions from the floor? Please, let's maximize the time. We have about 15 or 20 minutes.
Hello, good day, Doctor. I am Archel Capistrano from the University of San Carlos here in Cebu City. My question probably would sharpen the distinction between your level of technology and awareness of your people with that in our country. But I would just like to ask, did you ever have, or do you have situations of false alarm? Like we do have that a lot, and not really a lot, but we have that in the Philippines when we have an earthquake, or even if there is no earthquake really, we hear people panicking, going out, evacuating because of a tsunami alert. So I wonder if you have this situation also in Japan, and I wonder how you are able to avert such situations, because that is also a problem here in the Philippines, the false alarm. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for asking. Actually, the accuracy of the forecasting for early warning is very important. Japan is one of the most advanced countries detecting the size of the earthquake, and also we have a scientist of the tsunami who measured the mechanism of the tsunami and transition of the tsunami area very correctly. So there was many factors that can affect the size and direction of the tsunami. And so it may cause another data to create a more accurate forecast or more accurate early warning. But of course, there is a problem of the false warning. And people still remember the tsunami, and coastal area people are warned to evacuate if the tsunami expected. And the news media stopped indicating the size or height of the tsunami, like 50 centimeter or 2 meter. They are just warning the people that there might be a tsunami. So please evacuate as much as possible. And so the people are making feel that this is over-exaggerating. But also we have a problem that who did not evacuate appropriately at the large tsunami. So just we are making this kind of, we decided to make this kind of announcement. So there is also much possibility of both to much warning that the accuracy of scientific accuracy is very important to improve. So we are at Research Institute to improve this accuracy.
Thank you very much. I think one trend we're seeing in the Philippines, thankfully, is our own Department of Science and Technology has been taking a very active role in disaster preparedness and to put in more science, as you say, rain gauges, Doppler radars, etc., to help in warning and planning, etc. Are there any other questions? Dr. Egawa, what would you, from the point of view of administering the effort, because it's a very complicated effort, you showed a slide where you felt that there was not enough coordination between all the actors on the ground. I think that's also a problem in the Philippines. What do you think should be a good sort of template or a model in terms of, for example, national and local prefecture coordination or multi-stakeholder connection between public, private, academe, military, police, etc.? What would be a workable sort of framework in your mind about coordination of the effort on the ground?
Right, thank you very much. And this is a big problem that I think only that education and training can solve this problem. Of course, we have to establish a system that can be organized or coordinated to respond appropriately. But at the time of disaster, everything is confused and being in a chaos. However, if we know the common word, common terminology, like who needs what kind of help, that kind of information sharing and coordinate push logistics and arranging the help relief is very important. And not only the government, but the communication between the people in the community, and the people in the community should establish the hazard map and way of evacuation and a way to get how to be helped. So that kind of education and training is very important. And especially for the medical part, I think every medical student and nurse should be educated about disaster medicine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Egawa. I would assume that when you say education and training, it's on all levels. There is, for example, public education. You have disaster, the anniversary of the disaster. You have evacuation drill day, etc., etc. And then you also have, I guess, formal education through universities, no? And the science and the technologies. But you also mentioned that you had also trainings of, I guess, of the DMATs? Do you have a formal program for training of all the DMATs in disaster science?
Yes, we do. The DMAT has the textbook, and they are re-educated annually. And there are two kinds of DMATs, advanced course and basic course. So if a DMAT get an advanced course seminar, they can be a coordinator in the local government.
Who gives the training, Dr. Igawa? Is it government?
Headquarters, National Center for Disaster Medicine is a DMAT headquarters, and they provide the education and training course.
Thank you. Questions from the floor? Let's go to one of your key points, Dr. Igawa, about you feel that in the global plan, disaster and health, medical emergencies, medical disasters is not yet that highlighted. So what is your agenda moving forward? Is it really focused on the Sendai conference next year? Is that the main intervention point?
Yes, currently the United Nations ISDR is zero drafting the HFA2.
What is the
Just
ISDR?
released yesterday.
What is the ISDR?
UNISDR is the United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction. And this organizes the World Conference in Sendai every 10 years and makes a framework for action. But the next framework will be used for more than 10 years, like 20 or 30 years for the future. So it is trying to combine the disaster risk reduction and the development, because everybody needs the resource and funds. So the next framework is a very key, very important issue to the global phase.
Thank you, Doctor. I assume also that on a parallel level, national action plan should also be developed. And I think that's what we're trying to do, even on the local level, like local government units are also evolving their plans, which is a positive development.
Yes.
Any other questions from the floor? If there are none, if you have any last words, Dr. Igawa, we'll wrap up the session. But please feel free to amplify or to add any other thing by way of final comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Our institute made an agreement with the University of Philippines, Manila, and Angeles University, and many other universities in the world. And since disaster has no border, we have to collaborate to reduce the risks. And Japan and Philippines are one of the most disaster-prone countries. But we are also reducing the risks by the experience of the past disasters. However, the disaster risk is changing. We may have outbreak of influenza, or there is a Ebola in Africa. So we are facing now the new threats, and the health professionals are the frontline responders. And if we are not prepared, we cannot respond appropriately. So health preparedness is a key issue to reduce the final risks. Not only the building strong is a risk reduction. We have to aware that we health professionals should raise a voice in the process of the disaster risk reduction. So let's work together, and for the future collaboration is very welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Round of applause. Thank you very much for a very, very enlightening session, Dr. Rigawa. And I hope it's not the last time we will meet you and talk to you. Maybe this needs a whole conference in itself in the Philippines very soon. And we're glad to hear that UP and Angeles University are already in partnership with you. And we hope to get you again to the Philippines very soon. Thank you very much, sir. And
Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat. To recap, just to finish up this session, we've had two sort of slices of the session. One was on biohazards, and Doc would like to give a recap of that session.
Even if the reception was not very good, Dr. Fajardo gave us his study on a white powder incident in the United States. And he showed, for example, that there should be closer communication between law enforcement and public health. He showed that what was reported in electronic media and to the CDC was not reflected in the FBI, was not reported to the FBI. He also showed that they have a laboratory network, the LRN, composed of about 150 laboratories in the US. And these are authorized to respond to bio threats. You know? They have a pool of subject matter experts who are on call, and they can be mobilized within a few hours after receiving information about a white powder incident or other biohazards. So it is interesting to note that if there are subject matter experts in the laboratories, I mean, there are 5 veterinary laboratories also. And then he tells us about, in his last slide, his objectives in writing the paper. Maybe the lessons that we can learn in the Philippines is that we should establish a system. It does not have to be what the US has because they have more resources, but at least we should have a system. And this is what I was trying to drive at this morning when I was asking you, if you are confronted with a possible biohazard, bioterrorism incident, what will be the first steps that you will do? Who will be the first institution that you will contact? Should it be the Department of Health? Should it be the Philippine National Police? Should it be the NBI? And these institutions should have to establish their own protocol in responding to biological incidents. And I think because this is part of Philippine National Health Research Week, this might be